I wanted to talk to you about uh, three different sequences and just get your comments on them. Obviously, some of the ups and downs in that game, but the first would be the beginning of the game where everything went wrong. You know, you had the turnovers. Things just were like, I mean, half a yard off here or there. You know, obviously with the throws, they got picked and stuff like that. And then the middle of the game where you were able to dial up some pretty good offense, and then we're hitting a lot of big plays and getting guys loose and scoring points. And then the third would be the end of the game where you had that third down, and the pass went out to Will in the flat. He was unable to pick up the first down yardage. You're looking at 4th and 2. First down probably ices the game, and you guys made the decision to punt instead of go for it. Any regrets on the play call and the decision not to go for it at that point?
Yeah, with the first one, obviously we couldn't have had a more less ideal start than we had. I mean, we go 3 and out. Run 2 plays, they're competitive, whatever. 3rd and short, we got Rambo on the slant and they knocked the ball down. So we go 3 and out. Then we get the ball back and we take a shot on the second play and we get just a little bit of pressure in his face, so he didn't step into the throw. And Keyshawn had a step or two, wasn't wide open, but he had a few steps on the guy, and it's underthrown. And Keyshawn went up to get it, and the guy bumped him out of the way and made a good play. And unfortunately, you throw the ball deep. That's going to happen every now and then. So that was a pick. And then the next drive, I think we got a few first downs, and we had Harley on an option route. He turned in, and they were kind of in a bracket situation with him. So when Harley turned in, Tyler threw it like he was staying on the move. I think Harley, which he probably should have, I think Harley felt the safety coming down, and instead of staying on the move and catching it and then just getting tackled from behind, started to stop. And so the ball was, like you said, a yard out in front. And their safety number 10 really went to just smoke Harley, and the ball just fell into his lap. And that was 2 really, really unfortunate turnovers. And then, their D-line was as good as we thought they were. Really, other than about 2 instances, we were able to keep them from totally dominating the game in the pass world. But obviously the strip sack fumble was critical. Just beat us off the right side. He's a really good player. And I guess I don't know we got beat, and it's a sack fumble, no matter what. And they covered us down pretty good. Tyler was having to get to his 4th option as he was starting to throw the ball. And I guess I don't understand the rule when the ball's going forward in your hand. So that one didn't go our way, and it was critical because it gave him 7 points. And then the middle of the game, like I said, they did a good job. Give them a lot of credit. They knew the strength of their team was their defensive front. So they counted on them to obviously get the pressure on the quarterback. And they're not a big blitz team anyway, so that wasn't a big shock. But they played a lot more of – they have 2 different ways they play their bracket coverage, and they played more of their secondary version a lot more than they have all year, to try to take away, the RPOs and some of the things that we've had success with, giving you a positive run box. I think, the 3rd drive right before the second interception, Jalen had a couple good 7-6 yard runs. Should have been and could have been better. But they do a good job in the way they do that scheme. Is they're still all pretty tight once you hand the ball off. They were just sitting waiting for us to hand the ball off and then coming downhill, as opposed to coming downhill and letting you have those reads. And so, a couple of things. We got behind 17-0, obviously, and things weren't working, so we ended up throwing the ball a little bit more. And that's what allowed us, I thought our staff, our coaches made some good adjustments, and we were able to they weren't letting the ball get behind them because of the way they were sitting and waiting, but they were able to rally and make those runs, a 4, 5, 6 yard run at best. And so we had to make some adjustments, did a good job. The players did a great job of battling. I mean, when you think about being down 17-0, like you said, the start was terrible. You really can't imagine a worse start in a critical game at a place like that. It was a tough atmosphere. And for Tyler and our unit to kind of pull out of that, and we go on a 28-3 run and really take control of the game, I think was a real big credit to our guys. Because sometimes people do a good job and they force you to try to beat them, maybe not doing what you do best. And that's hard, but that's football. And that's what good games should have happen. And we were able to do that. We were able to put, those scoring drives together a little bit differently than we had been. And had some guys make some big plays. And so we just weren't able to obviously make the last play at the end. With regards to the last time we had the ball, really the last time, yeah, looking back, we got the first down and then got into a 3rd and 4th situation. It's easy to say now. Yeah, I was in between 2 calls. Wish I'd have gone with the other one now, clearly. Their defensive ends usually squeezed, and they ran up the field that didn't allow Will to kind of run first and before he went out. And so it made it look like a pass. Their Will linebacker made a good play, and we only got 2 out of it. And then you get down to that decision. It was 4th and, a long 1.5, almost 2, like you said. And honestly, in my opinion, I don't think Coach had a wrong decision. I think if you choose to go for it there, you're being aggressive. You're trying to win the game. And I think there's a lot of merit in that. I also think the way our defense had played, they hadn't scored in the second half. I mean, they hadn't scored. We were on a 28-3 run, and we were at the 40-something yard line. You think you're going to punt the football down the field and, get great, almost down the ball at the 1, but even then, ball in the 20. I don't think there was a wrong decision there. And I think our whole team and staff were all behind what we did. And if we'd have gone for it, we'd have been behind that too. And that's just how those critical decisions go. If you go for it and don't get it, then everybody's going, why'd you go for it? And I don't think there was a wrong decision. Like I said, we were prepared to go for it, and we were prepared to punt. I think when you look at the standpoint that we should have gotten the 4 yards to begin with and not been in that situation, and then they hadn't scored the whole half. So I think that made a lot of sense.
Coach, next we'll go to Susan Miller-Degnan of the Miami Herald. Susan, go ahead.
Hello, Rhett.
Hey, Susan.
Hey, on Jalen Knighton, I know he had that great catch and run touchdown play. But, in the running game, he averaged, I guess, 2 yards a carry on 16 rushes. I know Thad Franklin also had 1 catch for 18 yards. Can you talk about that whole situation there? Were you more frustrated than you thought you would be? And Thad, is there anything holding him back as far as getting carries? And I guess Cody didn't either.
Yeah, no, there's no frustration there. I mean, I think the first 2 drives, we really didn't run it much. And then tried to run a little bit in that 3rd drive to kind of settle things down. And we had, like I said, I think he had a 6-yard run, a 7-yard run, another 2-yard run that were really close to popping. And then he got just a little bit banged up, nothing major. I think that probably affected him just a tad, but he came back well. And like I said, when we got down the way we did, just the way the game dictated at that point, we didn't abandon the run. I think we still ran it 23 times and had probably about 30 run calls out of our 70 snaps. But we needed to make something happen. And so I don't regret the way we called the game after that because, like I said, we went on a 28-3 run, but we didn't have as many run attempts after that. So obviously we weren't ever able to be explosive or anything like that in the run game. But I think, again, we did what we had to do to move the ball and score when we needed to do it. We clearly weren't doing that in the first quarter and a half. In regards to Thad and Cody, they both got in the game in a limited way. Thad did have the good catch. There was no intentions to not hand them the ball. You obviously saw we used Rashard at running back too, and that was kind of the plan by committee with those 3 guys behind Jalen. And those guys just got to keep growing up and keep practicing, keep playing. That's all they got to do. It always sounds easy to say, hand the ball to this guy or that guy, but those guys are true freshmen and they've got a lot to continue to improve on, but they also are in the mix, and those are the guys we have, and those are the guys that are going to continue to play the rest of the way.
Coach, we'll go next to Manny Navarro from The Athletic. Manny, go ahead.
Hey, Rhett. Obviously,
Hey,
obviously this was Manny's decision. Ultimately, when FSU got down there to the 1, and I think you guys had 2 timeouts left. But he said you guys did talk about it. Just curious if he asked you at all, hey, how much time do you think we need to get in field position? Was that part of the discussion at all in regards to them scoring or not letting them score per se?
That's tough. I mean, obviously when they catch the 4th and 14 and get to the 1-foot line, in a position to where even if you call both of your timeouts, it's really hard to say you're going to get it back. There's no good answers. But you're also ahead. It's different if you're down a point, you just let them score, and get the ball back or something. But you're ahead, I mean, again, you talk about two decisions that it's easy to armchair and say, well, you should have done this, should have done that when you don't win the game, the 4th and 2 and then that. But I mean, I don't know if I've ever heard of somebody surrendering the game-winning touchdown. Like, if you just think in college football, I don't know. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm sure it has somewhere. I just personally have never heard of a team being ahead, letting another team score, as hard as that is. And, if you let them score, yeah, maybe you have 40, 45 seconds instead of in a timeout, instead of the 26 we had with no timeouts. If they were going to score, you definitely would rather them have just done it on the 4th and 14 or maybe the first time. But things happen, right? You knock them back on a sneak, they fumble the exchange, you get them to the 2-yard line, or they false start on the goal line. I mean, those things happen all the time in college football. And so those are the discussions we were talking about. Like I said, there's not really a great answer. I would say if those probability meters are up at that point, 1st and goal at the 1-foot line, it's probably 99% in their favor. They're going to win in all categories, no matter which way we chose. I think it's just one of those situations that rarely happens, where you get a team in that position and you're having to decide, do you surrender the game-winning point or not? That's how hard that decision is.
Coach, you got a few. Oh, go ahead, Manny.
I was going to do a quick follow. I'm sorry, Cam.
Yep.
Just in retrospect, I guess Tyler spiked the ball. What's the rule there with the runoff, the 2 seconds? Because I think you completed the play with 2 seconds left. Just that particular instance, you could address that.
No, great question. We're prepared for that, actually. You look back, there should have been 3 seconds, first of all. It's clear. You can watch the replay. We're down at 3 seconds. Had they reviewed it, they would have put 1 second on the clock, but it still was a long shot at that point. The way we work those mechanics is, we know the rule. If it's 2 seconds or less, you can't clock the football, because a play takes 2 seconds. If it's 3 seconds or more, we would clock it. Because you're going to clock it, you're going to have probably a second left, and now you can throw a Hail Mary or whatever it is you need to do, given the situation. We make a bingo call if it's under 3 seconds. So if we get a first down like that, it stops and it's at 1 or 2. We make a bingo call, which is just like our mayday on offense. Get the ball as soon as it's snapped on the whistle and everybody's going vertical, and try to get one last play off. What happened with Tyler is, when we got tackled, I remember looking up at the scoreboard and it said 3. Well, Tyler looked up and saw 3, and I waited to watch for it to tick to 2. And then when I turned to give the signal, he was already full go to go spike the ball, because in his eyes, there was 3 seconds. That's exactly what he told me when I asked him kind of what he said. Coach, I looked up and saw 3 seconds, so I was going to spike it as fast as I could. And so he knows the rules. We had prepared for that. He thought it was 3 and then took off and didn't see it tick down to 2. I don't know, in real time, it felt like it ticked to 2 at the last second. But by the time I turned to look to him to try to be signaling our bingo call, we were in full spike the ball mode, and there was really no way to stop it. And if you look even how he spikes it kind of hesitantly, it's because at the last, right before he snaps, he looks up and sees the clock says 2. And I think he kind of realized this ain't good, and so he knows we prepared for it. I think, the best thing we can do to make sure that never happens is he's just got, even though he looks and sees 3, he's got to look to me and let me be that guy and make that call. So he knows the rules, prepared. He gave everything he had. And like I said, he thought there was 3, and that's why he was trying to clock it.
Coach, we'll go to David Wilson from the Herald. David, go ahead.
Hey, Rhett. This kind of got lost, I guess, in a game like that, but Charleston's now up to, I think, 5th on the single season receiving yards list of Miami's obviously been red hot here to finish the year. I think when you guys got him, we all knew he was going to be probably a pretty good player for you, but I know his last year at Oklahoma, he'd kind of started to lose some playing time. I'm curious, has he exceeded your expectations in any way or surprised you, just this run that he has been on down the stretch here?
Obviously when we recruited him here, we had hoped that he would make this kind of an impact, especially on the outside for us. And, between him and Keyshawn Smith and those younger guys, Mello and Jacoby, we felt like we'd be better out there, and we have been. To some degrees, yeah. I mean, statistically, he's probably exceeded that expectation a little bit when you talk about, the rarefied air he's getting into at a place like the University of Miami. I think the great thing about him is he's just gotten stronger as the year went on. And that's probably the part that's exceeded the expectations. I think he'll be the first to tell you he didn't play his best game the other night. none of us did, especially early. But boy, he made some big catches in that third and fourth quarter for us. A big fourth down catch, a big catch coming out of our end zone. And like I said, I know for Tyler, you talk about a young guy that did get to work with him in the spring. When you're a young quarterback, making all these first time starts and things, to have a guy with that experience and that consistency, that there's just something to it at quarterback. You got a lot of confidence when you throw at a guy like that. And I think you see that when Tyler throws it his way. So there's no question. He's been everything we had hoped for and probably even more.
Last question for you, Coach, is going to come from Kobe Price of the Sun Sentinel. Kobe, go ahead.
Hey, sorry about that. Hey, Rhett, wanted to ask about, obviously we mentioned this, I think, or you mentioned this last week about, you've been in Iron Bowl games, you've been in these intense environments, and, you've won Iron Bowls, you lost on them as well. I guess, whatever you take away from those experiences, I guess, help you make sure guys can stay together over the last couple of games, even, with the conference not being in play anymore?
I think the way our guys have handled this year, that has been filled with more adversity than I've had in any season I've coached. I mean, it's from the way, you started really, game one didn't go the way we'd hoped, but by game two on, talking about massive critical injuries for the season. When you talk about losing your franchise, your franchise quarterback's what it is. Look at the teams in the NFL. Look what the Houston Texans are without Deshaun, and look what the Seahawks have been without Russell Wilson. When you lose your guy, I don't think that gets enough play. I don't think that's been talked about enough. When you lose a guy that's preseason potential Heisman guy, it doesn't matter if he'd not had his best 2 or 3 games or whatever. When you lose the leader of that guy, and then you lose 3 linemen, and you lose 2 of your top 3 running backs and guys we've lost on defense and a lot of those guys before we ever played a conference game. I think the way our guys have battled through that, and a lot of the negativity and the disappointment from, expectations they had of themselves, to be where we were 4 or 5 weeks ago and to be where we are now. I think that tells you all you need to know about the makeup of our team. I think the game the other night, we're down 17-0. I've only been in like you said, an Iron Bowl type atmosphere. One other time where it was that negative against you early. In 2010, we played Cam Newton's year. We're at Tuscaloosa, and a similar situation. They got really good players, but they weren't having the year they had hoped for. And we get down 24-0. And it was just the same feel. It was like there's just this avalanche of momentum going against you, and you just don't know what you can do to make it stop. And most of the time, people let go of the rope, or if at best they fight as hard as they can to come back and lose by 14 or whatever, and have some respect. And I think our guys showed what's in them, just like they have all year, to come back from 17-0, go on a 28-3 run, and grab the game 28-20 with 7 or whatever minutes it was to go. That's what I told the guys. There's no moral victories. We lost. It's devastating, the game we lost and how we didn't close it out in those last 7 minutes. But the way our guys have competed and fought through these things all year, the way they competed the other night, that's how we'll get through these last few weeks. They've given too much. They've expended too much energy to fight back to where we are now. We played six conference games decided by a total of 16 points. I've never heard of that, And so, that a lot of times Iron Bowl was the last game of the year. So I didn't have a lot of scenarios where it was coming out of that kind of game and you're trying to get them ready for the next 2, like we are now, to answer your question totally. But we did have that discussion. And like I said, you can be really disappointed in the outcome, and really disappointed that, there were some things we could have done. We could have started the game better. We could have finished the game better. We didn't win. We didn't get it done. There's no excuses for that, but you can still be really, really proud of your guys for how they competed and how they played and how they fought. And I'm really, really proud of the guys. I'm proud of our whole team, but I'm really proud of our unit on offense for, getting punched in the face and not playing well early, and having things taken away that we're good at, and finding another way to compete and fight and claw and get back in that thing, give ourselves a chance to win. And, because it shows what our guys are made of. It shows the continuity, the culture. It shows the togetherness, the teamwork, that our guys believe in what we're doing. So that's, to me, what we've talked about, and that's how we'll get through these last 2 weeks and hopefully beyond that.